This is the Wild and Fearless podcast. Join Beck Fox, renowned business leader, coach, and avid adventurer, and go inside the hearts and minds of ordinary women doing extraordinary things. Wild and Fearless, women inspiring legendary dreams.
Welcome to another Wild and Fearless podcast. It is an absolute pleasure to have our wonderful guest all the way from Perth today, Natasha Hendrick. Welcome. I absolutely love your environment that you're sitting in right now. It looks so cozy. Where are you?
Oh, thanks very much. Hello. It's so good to see you again, Beck. This is my little reading nook that I have at home. It's the dream room where one day I will have time to sit down and read.
And that epitomises everything about you. You are such a wonderful, dynamic woman, and you're on the go all the time. And that's what we're going to hopefully tap into today: your energy and also your leadership, your management. You're an exceptional woman in the engineering field and industry, and a leader in that area, which is a very male-dominant industry, as we know. And so I'd love to tap your brain about that. Yes, and all the wonderful successes.
Yeah, I was going to say I am always busy, but I was reflecting on this in preparation for our chat today, and I remembered when I was 14 years old, I was starting out at Ranger Guides in Girl Guiding. And I was kind of nervous going to my very first meeting, and it happened to be a farewell party for one of the girls who turned 18 that day. And she gave a talk, a farewell speech, I guess. And she said the thing she had learned most out of Ranger Guides was that you only get out of life what you're prepared to put into it. And I think it really resonated with me, and I feel like I've been living my life just like that ever since.
Ever since. They are golden. They are definitely golden words, aren't they? It's so true.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
You've had a massive involvement in Girl Guides. I know that's how we met many years ago, back in 1999 we met.
That's right.
Yeah, and we had many years together, 16 years working alongside each other. And, well, you were definitely in the guiding world and becoming a leader, and then, of course, not only on the Queensland platform, but then Australia, representing Guides Australia, And then that really catapulted, didn't it? Because you moved to Perth with your engineering, but it catapulted in both the areas, professionally and also with volunteering and guides. Tell us a bit more about that.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, when we met, I was at that stage the youngest assistant state commissioner for Girl Guides Queensland, and one of my big projects was turning our state campsite into an outdoor rec centre. So that's how we crossed paths. Yep. But about a decade after that, I moved into the Assistant Chief Commissioner role for Girl Guides Australia, and that was a big role. Oh my goodness, there was so much work involved in that. We were setting up the new national management team at that stage, and it was the first time I really had the opportunity to lead very big management operational groups of people. And I was working with paid staff and volunteers. So, but it was at that time. I also got to get some exposure to the international world of girl guiding. And about 5 or 6 years later, I was successful in being elected onto the World Board for the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts.
I'll never forget that day.
Well, that was an incredible experience. 6 years on the World Board. So I finished just as the COVID pandemic started. So, of course, my 6 years, I got to travel around the world. It was just incredible, working with people from all walks of life, all cultures. I used to have to work in 4 languages. We had instant translation or whisper translation through meetings. And I got to learn so much working with incredible women from all over the world. Some of the projects I got to work on, we redesigned the new leadership program for girls and women around the world.
How fantastic.
I learned about things like branding and value propositions for businesses.
Yes.
Global strategy planning, governance of a global organisation. It was a big job, but I really enjoyed it and just learned so much out of it.
Oh, absolutely. And what a leader you are. Like, you inspire so many young women in Australia and now across the globe with what you did. And to give an idea to the listeners, Girl Guides is a massive movement across the world. It's still within Queensland.
10 million members.
How many members?
10 million members around the world.
Yeah, too many members, yep. But you were also very young. So for you to be in that leadership role, you were amongst a lot of people who are, at least a decade, if not 2 decades older than you. So you've always been this young, vibrant, sparky leader that says yes, even if you don't know how to do it. You just turn up and go, I'll be the Chief Commissioner of Australia-wide. Yeah, absolutely, why not? Oh, I'm juggling my engineering career, my progression in that, like going to different workplaces and remote areas, and then also taking that on. That's where you've been absolutely amazing and incredible. So hats off to you.
Yeah, and I look back on the the last 20, 30 years of my working life, and I really did kind of have this parallel career, my volunteer role. So as I was progressing through my paid work as a geophysicist, and I can tell you more about that in a minute, I also had this incredible volunteer career effectively. And it was, I actually started off as a canoe and kayak instructor and a low ropes facilitator. And then moved into leadership development for young women in particular. And I ran my first national leadership event while I was still at university doing my geophysics degree. And then as I progressed through the sort of leadership and became a more experienced leadership facilitator, that's when I started moving into the governance of the organisations and the business and operations of the organisations. And there were times, I have to say, that I got very little sleep and didn't have much of a social life outside of work or my volunteer roles because there was just so much work to do. But I wouldn't, looking back, I wouldn't have done anything differently. It's just been so satisfying and so rewarding to actually spend time on both sides of things.
Absolutely. So going back to that 14-year-old girl, you would never have imagined, I can imagine, that you would have this opportunity of becoming a global citizen and influencing and shaping the mindset and also the leadership of guides internationally. I mean, that's just so epic, isn't it?
It really is, and I absolutely had no idea when I was 14 years old and showing up to that very first Ranger Guide meeting. I probably didn't even know those levels of guiding existed at that stage. It was just such a foreign concept to think globally. I just grew up as a country kid and didn't realise, how much opportunity there was internationally. I actually got my first international experience as a guide. I think it was in 1999. It was the year that we met, and I got selected as the young women representative for Girl Guides Australia to head to Ireland. And that was really when my mind was totally open. I met 500 women from 150 different countries around the world, all committed and dedicated to this movement for girls and women. And I guess that was probably the point I really got hooked on trying to aspire to play a role in international girl guiding.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who don't know anything about Girl Guides, what would you say, how would you encapsulate that in a few sentences, like what it provides for young women? How would you...
It's a community organisation. It's over 100 years old now, and it's a community organisation for girls and young women to build self-confidence, build their leadership capabilities, and contribute and give back to their communities. So they do a lot of community and service work, but they also do a lot of personal development and leadership development through activities like outdoor activities, canoeing, kayaking, camping. These days they also do a lot of computing and science experimentation, and there's cooking, and whatever the girls like to do, they do it in such a way that they're learning to lead themselves, to lead each others, and to give back to the community. And there's 145 membership countries around the world. Australia is one of those, and 10 million girls around the world. And it's growing very rapidly in Asia and Africa, which is just fantastic, because in those countries, girls still don't get a lot of access to education. So community organisations like Girl Guiding give girls an opportunity to build skills that they can use in their adult lives.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? And it's a very easy thing to access as well, because it is so widespread, but it's also very low cost as well, which is, I think, is really lovely about Girl Guides, is that you can be involved in a very, very stable...
Yeah, it's all run by...
run by volunteers, very small very much a donation,
Yes.
isn't it, for membership? And also girls and women working together, there's a really nice, safe feeling and a really nice community that evolves and friendships that really form. So the social impact is really huge as well.
That's right. And, the safe space is really important. And, I can reflect that played a role certainly in me growing as a leader in my professional space. And, you've already mentioned that my work is in a male-dominated environment. And it was difficult to find my way as a leader in that space, because the style of leadership that I was seeing all around me was not it was very strong male characteristics in their leadership styles, and it didn't really suit me. And when I was early in my career, I had learnt to mimic that behaviour, but it didn't sit well with me as I grew into those leadership roles. And so I really needed those safe spaces in Girl Guiding to explore leadership and understand how I could behave as a leader. And it was quite some time before I had the courage to then bring that style of leadership into my workplace, but I eventually got there.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? And I love that you bring this up because it's so topical. Like you were saying that you were mimicking the male and the masculine energy, when in fact it wasn't your natural leadership style and it wasn't your authentic self. And eventually, and I'm imagining it was quite a few years later that you actually thought, hang on a second, no, I'm going to be my true authentic self. And as being that is a leadership in itself. You don't need to pretend to be a leader or put a special suit on to be a leader. It's about just bringing your true self forward. And all those skills you would have learnt too absolutely would have catapulted that as well.
Oh, certainly. But, sometimes I look back and I get frustrated at how long it took me to figure out to be my authentic self in my workplace.
But isn't that beautiful to share today? Because there's so many listeners sitting back and thinking, wow, I've been holding myself back in my career thinking I can't be like them, whoever, if it's a masculine dominant energy, a really high D energy. But you don't need to be that to be a leader at all. And to be some of the best managers and leaders have got the feminine energy and they're nurturing and encouraging and all the things that men can be as well. Masculine and feminine energy can be male or female, but you don't need to be a type to be a leader. Absolutely not.
That's exactly right. And you've exactly identified the motivation behind my latest venture, actually, which is co-founding and founding a new organisation called Be Bold Group.
Oh, how sensational! First of all, can I say what a fantastic name? Be Bold. That's so cool.
Yes,
that is such a cool name.
It's great, and it's all about helping women step boldly into leadership, right? Yeah. And it's motivated because by my experiences, I don't want other young women to fall into the same trap that I did and think that the only way to be a leader is to mimic the behaviour they're seeing above them in male-dominated industries. So we're really focusing on women in STEM, that's the science, technology, engineering, maths and medicine. And we'll be building a global community of women in STEM and helping them develop their leadership skills so that they can become change agents in their industries and the world.
Oh, how fantastic. And also hopefully encouraging young women to go down that line, because I know that we've talked about this a lot in the podcast. So many people change the course of their life in their early childhood because a teacher or someone who they look up to for guidance says, you can't do that. You haven't got the intelligence to do that. You don't need intelligence to be a science and mathematical and medicine sort of way of thinking. It's just a different style of intelligence. So it's about tapping into what you love and your passion, and you work it out no matter what. So I love that you're bringing that up and encouraging young women to really follow their hearts and their dreams. And also leadership is so important.
Yeah, it really is. And, if the global pandemic's taught us anything, it's that the systems that humans have in place aren't always working well. And we've got a lot of critical choices to make in the near future to sort of ensure the long-term sustainability of society and of our planet. And at the moment, we don't have enough women in the decision-making tables around the world. And so I think it's really important to encourage women to step up into leadership and understand that they have a role to play in influencing and changing the way we do things around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would be a step that you would encourage young women or women of all ages to embark on? What do you think? What's something they could do?
Well, really, the very first step is to believe in yourself and speak up in whatever forum you're in, whether it's at school or university or in your workplace. I think a lot of times, particularly in male-dominated environments and workplaces, women will keep quiet. They won't voice their true thoughts, and whether it's women in male-dominated workplaces or situations always have to tread that fine line between, being too soft and then too bossy and aggressive. You're always trying to figure out how to walk that fine line. And so we tend to keep our mouths shut. And that's not a good thing. We need women to speak up and be change agents and help drive the direction of businesses and organisations and governments. And I think the first step is just finding that courage to speak.
To speak up, absolutely. And it's really interesting, it's very topical too, because I know so many male coaches now who are actually teaching their male CEOs of how to bring the femininity into their masculine leadership style. Because feminine leadership is really powerful and empowers others enormously. And it's actually a really strong way of leading a team. And you can actually embrace and have empathy, for example, and heart-centered leadership. They're all feminine ways of leading.
Yes.
And there's more and more men who are CEOs and in leadership positions are going, aha, okay, right, I get it. So there's going to be more talk about this. And so it's also about not only educating our women, it's also educating our men who are in leadership roles or management roles. Let's not assume that every man in a management role is a leader, because that's not necessarily the case. Yeah. But True. Those who are in management roles will have a responsibility to manage and lead a team to actually learn those ways of bringing more empathic and socially minded, emotional intelligence, all that sort of stuff that's very feminine energy to come on out and come to the forefront. So we can lead by vocalising things. If we don't, how can we teach our men to be better leaders as well?
Well, that's right. And you're right. I think the last couple of years have probably shown the world how effective those sort of feminine leadership characteristics or traits are when trying to bring people along with you on a very complicated and scary journey. You need that type of leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's absolutely amazing how through COVID, the people who are standing out at the forefront of being our heroes are the nurses. And it's a predominantly female-generated industry. So it's really wonderful. Things are changing. There's movement. There's definitely change in the air about leaders. And also more, I think we've been talking for many decades about leadership and what leadership is and trying to theorise it and analyse it from a male perspective. And I really am very encouraged. As you know, I've been a leader. As you know, you've seen me. I've been leading teams for years, 3 decades, and I've never been anything but myself. I've never tapped into a masculine energy. I've never mimicked another man because I haven't actually particularly seen a male model that's been really shining light, nor have I really seen a lot of women in my life that have been shining lights either. I've always been searching for mentors. But I thought, you know what, the best I can be is the best version of myself and bring my version of leadership. And it's always been really successful because it's very authentic. And that's clearly that's where you landed, which is awesome.
That's where I landed. It's funny you mentioned that mentorship and that role modelling. It was one of the things that I really struggled with. I couldn't see a role model in my workplace or even in my industry at all. And I really applaud you for just so boldly just being your authentic self as a leader. I feel like I was a little bit of a slow learner in that regard, and it just took me a little longer.
It was meant to be for some reason, whatever reason. You learnt along the way. Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And you've got an amazing life. So you're setting up this fantastic project called Be Bold. I know you've spent a lot of time in your industry and being a leader in your industry. You travel the world, or you were travelling the world, and that will, obviously you're travelling the world now through Teams and Zoom and everything else, but you're still very connected globally and having a lot of influence. Tell me more about what you're doing in your workplace at the moment. Your work life.
I'm a geophysicist, not quite an engineer. It's similar.
My apologies.
But geophysics is the study of the physical properties of the Earth. So, like how dense a rock is, or how electricity is conducted through a rock. I specialise in using sound waves, so I guess I'm almost just doing really large-scale ultrasound imaging of the Earth.
Wow, how fascinating.
Yeah, it is a really fascinating industry. I've had so much fun being a geophysicist. And look, actually, I didn't go to university to study geophysics. I actually started out studying engineering, mechanical engineering, with the view of stepping across into aeronautical engineering. And not that I'd ever been in a plane, but I was just fascinated with how things stayed in the sky. And so I thought that would be pretty neat. But it wasn't long actually into the first term of university where I actually just couldn't cope with the fact that there was 500 hormonal teenage boys and 5 girls in our engineering.
Oh no, nightmare.
Yeah, it was, lectures were pretty much spit bombs and paper planes being thrown at the lecturer. So
our sound crew, by the way, is going, that sounds pretty cool. Yep. And nodding. We can all imagine it, totally imagine it.
Oh yeah, that's what it was like, and despite the university trying really hard to keep the girls
interested and involved and engaged,
I think they lost over half the 5 of us
half of the 5
in the early weeks. Yeah. So
that's classic.
So I was sort of frantically flicking through a university handbook going, what am I going to study? And I came across this field of geophysics that it was maths and science, which I had absolutely loved at high school. But actually it was also the outdoor work, the geological field work that attracted me. And I thought, I really like camping and abseiling and hiking. So I decided, I took a gamble on geophysics, but I really haven't looked back since. So I've had such an amazing career. I started off in the coal mining industry in Queensland and worked there for about 6 to 8 years before moving across to Western Australia. I actually came here for 3 years, and 15 years later, I'm still here. I love the West Coast, but I also actually love the career options here. There's a lot of vibrancy around the oil and gas and mining industries here in Perth, and a lot of career opportunities. So I've been working here since, and probably from 2007 through to 2012, I was almost traveling constantly for work. And, that's not something that had ever occurred to me that I'd get the chance to do. But I was involved with engineering projects in Texas, Austin, Texas.
Wow.
We were using fibre optic technology. It was sort of like leading edge, permanent reservoir monitoring of oil fields, and absolutely fascinating piece of technical work. And I got to spend quite a bit of time in Austin. And I also spent a lot of time in Oslo in Norway, working with the oil fields in the North Sea. That was incredible. Gosh, I've had such amazing travel adventures because of work.
Yes,
all over the world.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it? I know that listeners are going to be sitting here going, especially young girls that are listening, you can do anything it's amazing. If you have a love and a passion for maths and science, stick with it. Forget what other people are saying and just really stick with it, because it can lead you to jobs that you've never even heard of. And we all know that there's so many jobs out there that we haven't even invented yet. So it's just going to be incredible. Yeah. We need more women in STEM.
I definitely agree.
More women in STEM, definitely, and careers.
More women in STEM, and certainly back you up 100% with that concept of there are jobs that we don't even know about yet. You just follow your passion in science and mathematics and engineering, and goodness knows where you'll end up. It's such an exciting field of development.
Yeah, and leadership positions that are opening up as well for women, because you've led the way, as with other women, I imagine, who are now following your path. Because once one woman does it and breaks through that ceiling, it opens up the whole sky, doesn't it? Everyone starts marching through.
It does,
as well.
And you know what? I mean, I think I'm about 25 years into my career, and I have my first female manager. It's exciting.
Sensational, yeah. And a really good one. Have you found your mentor?
I have found a mentor. I actually have been blessed with many great mentors. Once I got over the whole trying to figure out how to be a leader and just deciding I'll just have to do it my way. I have been able to find lots of mentors to support me in various aspects of my profession. That has been great.
It's so good. And something that people don't know about you, but I do know about you, and I can see it in the background there, you've got two of beautiful photos. You are the most amazing photographer of wildlife and especially reef systems. Like, you are just an avid adventurer, but you capture the beauty. Like, there's very rarely a photo of you on Facebook. It's all what you see through your eyes, or see through the lens. And I just got to say, it makes my day whenever I go on Facebook and see what you're up to, because it's just incredible. And so tell the audience, and this is also what engineering can bring out, or not engineering, but when you're having a career that you've got the right balance, geophysics, when you have the right balance of work and lifestyle, you can really get out and see the world, and that's what you do very, very well, and enjoy your hobbies, which is clearly photography and adventure.
Well, you know what, I took, in 2020 when travel ground to a halt, I probably spent a week feeling sorry for myself because I was actually planning a trip to Uganda, and I was going to go and see the gorillas in 2020. And it was my final world conference from my 6-year term on the world board for Girl Guiding and Girl Scouting. So I was really disappointed that was all cancelled. Obviously, no one was travelling internationally. So I sort of moped around for a week.
Fair enough.
And then I decided, no, I needed to take advantage of the change of pace and pick up some new hobbies. And actually, that's when I came up with the idea for Be Bold. I really wanted to figure out a way to make a more positive impact in the world. It was probably a time where everybody was rethinking their lives, right? We were all put on pause.
Yep.
It's also when I decided I would join a photography club.
Really? Recently?
So I had the camera through 2018. I actually took a year off work and travelled around the world for a year in 2018 and had bought the camera for that trip. I didn't really know what I was doing with it. It was on auto the whole time.
I love it. Yeah.
But I joined a photography club in 2020. And so for the last couple of years, I've been travelling all around Western Australia because, of course, we've been locked away here
lucky
for
you
the last
guys.
2 years.
What a beautiful state to be locked away in. Yep.
It's not a bad place to be locked into, and I've travelled hard and fast around WA while I've been here, and the camera's always come with me.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely beautiful. So, Tash, if you had anything you could say to our listeners, what would it be, do you think? Because we've got young women of all ages, we've got men and young boys as well listening in. Like, it's diverse. Is there anything, any key? If you could think of any golden nuggets, and I'm thinking about golden nuggets because you're, what are you again? I get tongue-tied. A geophysicist. That's pretty full on to say.
You got it.
Yep.
Yes.
But what are the golden nuggets you'd like to share with them? You've shared many already, but is there anything in particular you'd like to share?
Yeah. Look, I think I kind of mentioned already that I had, over the last 30 years, I've had this parallel career. I've worked professionally as a geophysicist, and I've had this volunteer career that's involved leadership and strategy and organisational governance and business planning, and there are times that it was really hard work, and I have to say that there were times where I wondered if I was trying to do too much, I guess, and particularly when I could see colleagues maybe progressing a little bit quicker in the paid work area, and but I was sidetracked doing something in the volunteer space at the time and couldn't take that opportunity. And certainly there have been times when I've had to really defend my choices to spend so much energy in the volunteer space with managers who would comment that I wasn't going to reach my professional paid goals if I didn't, put more energy and effort into work. And certainly they didn't understand when I even took steps back in my career.
To take on more voluntary leads.
To take on an amazing volunteer opportunity, because sometimes they were just so tantalising. I wasn't going to let paid work get in the way of that. And
absolutely.
There were times, just that I wasn't always sure that I should have been doing two things at the same time and jumping up and down in my career. But when I look back, when I reflect on it, the truth is, I think, if you follow your heart if you make choices that bring you joy and excite you, if you lean into things that are challenging and will help you grow, I think you're going to end up in the place you were always meant to be.
Yeah,
and so my I guess tip for others is to trust yourself, have the courage to follow your own path, because we're all unique and we all have our own journey to take.
Oh, it's so beautifully said. I couldn't agree more. And so many of us are so led by what other people think, and it's just about stopping and going, you know what?
Right.
I need to find my happy place and what fulfills my soul. It may not be a career progression. It may not be the next pay rise. It may actually be volunteering. It may be doing something extraordinary. It may be setting up a Be Bold or a project that's close to my heart.
Yeah.
It may be, it could be anything, because we're all so unique and we're all individuals. It's about following your heart. Couldn't agree more, Tash.
That's right.
Fantastic
I think
message.
One of the things that people are realising now, and maybe it's coming out a little bit more because of the pandemic, is this idea of a traditional, conventional, linear career path just doesn't make sense, right?
No,
we should be swinging around a jungle gym, right? We're swinging up and down and left and right, and
I love it.
no longer can we measure success based on how high we get up this boring single career ladder. Success has got to be how much we're fulfilling our own purpose and passion, and how much value we're bringing to any given workplace that we happen to be working in, or any organisation that we're volunteering to. That's, we've got to shift our definition of success, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and bring it more intrinsically instead of external. Absolutely, and let's face it, you can earn a lot of money and be very unhappy. So, and you can also earn a lot of money and be very happy if it's aligned with your values and your passion and your vision. So, it's about, fundamentally happiness comes down to you living congruently to your values. You're living with clear purpose. Your why is bigger than any other issues that may be stumbling blocks or boulders in the way, or jungle gym, rope failures. You don't care because you're still going to swing, right? And it is. It's about really believing in yourself. I agree 100%. You've absolutely nailed it. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And I can see people now are going to be sitting at home listening to this, or in their cars or in their kitchens or wherever they are, and they're going to go, jungle gym. That's going to stick in my head. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Absolutely. And we can all be leaders and we can all be followers, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, as long as you're waking up every morning and you're doing something you love. That's the most important. And if you're not,
and you're doing what you love to do, and not paying attention to other people's expectations.
Exactly. And if you're not, I strongly urge, and I coach this all the time, what are you doing there? You get one chance at life. You get one chance.
Yes.
So it's time to reassess. So find your little nook, find your little corner, your happy place, like you've got there, and actually spend some time in it and reflect about what is it really going on in here. What do you really want to do, and touch your own heart and your own purpose. So essential.
Yeah. No, that's right.
Natasha, look, I would love people to get involved in your Be Bold campaign. I know people are sitting here going, come on, Beck, ask the question. How do we get engaged? How do we help? Can we volunteer ourselves? Can we help Natasha in any way? How do they get in touch with you, and how do they get to know more about the Be Bold project?
Yeah, right. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Natasha Hendrick, or reach out to me through natasha@bebold.group. And you can learn more about Be Bold at bebold.group. Visit our website.
Love it. And it's going to be such a great project. I'm looking forward to seeing it just actually propel. And
we're really excited. We'll have our first online leadership program rolling out in May this year.
Oh, that's so good. So good.
Yes.
And so people who are listening, they can join in and be part of that, or do they need to be already in the industry? Who's it open to?
No. So anyone can join, visit the website and just sign up to the community. There, we're slowly building up our community, and you can see us on LinkedIn. We've also got a Facebook group available, Be Bold group, and we'll share the news when the courses are available and when we've got activities going on.
Brilliant. And just for those people who haven't seen Be Bold, it's actually B and then bold. It's not B-E bold. If you start Google searching
That's right.
Yep.
Yes. Good.
B, double B.
Double B. Be Bold. That's right.
I love it. Tash, it's been an absolute honour, as always, catching up with you. I love your smile. I love your energy. I love your purpose, and I wish you all the very best with your future career, and also with your adventuring, your photography, having time in that quality nook that you have generated there in WA. And so looking forward to seeing you again, and the best of luck with Be Bold. I'm hoping we'll be back again and having another conversation in a year's time, and you can tell us all about the success of Be Bold and how many more women are sitting in those lecture rooms in their first year of engineering. That would be fantastic.
Amazing. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be part of this Wild and Fearless family now. Thanks for having me.
It's a community. It is building a community, and it's women supporting women, and women also supporting others. Like, it is about, we're supporting men also. So, men and young boys and young girls. But the main purpose is women supporting each other. And it's such a fantastic community. Look, it's great to have you as part of the founding crew and the founding podcasters. And there's many more guests to come on the show. And they're just going to be, and I know that the people listening are just going to be bamboozled with wowness and awesomeness and thrill listening to your podcast. It's just been an absolute honour.
Oh, Tash. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Enjoy that nook. See you.
See you later.
Hey legends, I hope you're really enjoying the show. We love bringing it to you. Please support us, subscribe, like all our social media platforms, and please reach out and donate through buymeacoffee.com/wild and fearless. We really appreciate it. Have an awesome day.